and welcome to Food for Thought, a series of shows produced by university students from around the world. I'm Alessandra Di Frasinato.
And I'm Friha Zafar. We're from Ryerson University in Toronto, Canada.
And I'm Carson Wong, along with Lily Chang at STUSD at Tainan, Taiwan.
We are producing 7 shows, all on the theme of food. They can all be found on our website and our social media.
We have shows that celebrate the wide variety of foods in our different countries, and we're talking about how our modern sugar-filled diets affect our health.
This show is focused on the foods we waste and some innovative programs to provide food for people in need.
The United Nations Summit on Climate Change, COP26, was held recently in Glasgow. More than 30,000 people showed up from all around the world.
Food and agriculture were also discussed by world leaders because, of course, most of the food we eat needs land to grow in. Just beside the COP26 venue, a small group of environmentalists have decided to reclaim an abandoned shipyard. Govan docks have laid empty for more than 3 decades, and the soil is polluted with chemicals and remnants of our industrial past.
The team behind the urban garden are using plants to decontaminate the soil and in turn grow crops to feed goats and sheep, as well as locals. Mark Devlin from UWS in Scotland has more on this report.
A project supported by the University of the West of Scotland is looking at taking the old Govan docks and regenerating them. This attraction has also led to more people coming from the COP26 summit, focusing on climate change and climate action at the Hydro just across the riverfront.
Delegates from the UWS conference about climate change on waterfronts.
Great. Really pitch the idea that land like this doesn't need to just be housing, but it can actually be productive and be revenue generating without out with these conventional uses and utilities of land. So we've been here for 8 weeks. The site was really just rubble, piles of cobbles that you see back from the old shipbuilding days.
During its heyday, more than 23% of the world's ships were made in Glasgow. That lasted up until the 1980s.
One really fascinating element of these plants is that they both neutralize heavy metals and, let's say, even asbestos, meaning that you can actually use those plants afterwards for other things, like even feeding cattle, for instance.
The plants range in different shapes, forms and sizes, all with the same aim of removing pollutants from the soil surrounded by the docks.
Little plants like that, comparing them to 100-foot tall Amazonian trees, 30 times more carbon, and that's incredible.
The site is open to members of the public, and it's hoped that it will contribute significantly to the carbon reduction and carbon footprint of Glasgow City.
These docks were in use until the late 80s as, for stripping down boats. And you've got these huge sheds behind me, which are now used for all kinds of fashion film shoots, all that kind of stuff, performance.
The current site has played host to tree planting exercises and community activities over the last few months. It is hoped it will continue to raise awareness and involve other volunteers from across the region in the coming weeks and months.
I've read about some initiatives in the EU to reduce pesticide use and the amount of industrial waste that gets dumped on land.
I read about one project in Canada where soil contaminated by landfills or hazardous waste is getting cleaned up and used in construction materials.
In Taiwan, polluted land will not be used for agriculture or farming. 65% of the polluted soil will be buried and incinerated, and the other 35% will be used to make cement and brick.
The story we just watched was about growing food. Our next few stories are about wasting food and what can be done to prevent this waste.
Taiwanese cuisine is delicious and world-renowned, but Taiwanese people often fail to finish their food. Leftovers from restaurants and school lunches have made Taiwan the largest food waste country in Asia. 1.9 million tons of food is wasted every year in Taiwan.
Let's find out more about how schools in Taiwan are starting a movement to stop food waste through a school lunch zero waste competitions. Zhang Bowei from Southern Taiwan University of Science and Technology in Tainan, Taiwan, has the story.
Taiwanese cuisine is world-renowned, but Taiwan alone created 3.4 tons of food waste every year. the tributes of the Gosman Pudu rituals, the popular live eating food streaming, and food leftovers from wedding banquet and buffet restaurants all created much food waste.
According to the EPA, too much leftovers has made Taiwan the largest waste country in Asia. The two major sources of food waste are from producers and consumers. Let's find out what exactly is production food loss and consumers food loss.
Production loss comes from eliminating extra food products that do not meet the specifications at the production and processing stage, and food discarded by consumers becomes the consumer side of the loss. Food waste research found consumer loss alone accounts for 50% of all food wasted, and this can be prevented.
Consumers often fail to finish their food because they buy too much, cook too much, and they do not cherish food. These wasteful behaviors, due to lack of awareness, are the greatest source of food waste.
And what are schools in Taiwan doing to promote awareness of food waste? Principal Chen shares how students are changing to be food hero.
At the beginning, I would go to each class during lunchtime to see how students eat their lunch. I found it strange, many students are very picky eaters. With bad picky eating habits, they discard school lunch if they dislike the taste. There are a lot of leftovers from each class every day. Some students want to eat snacks after class, so I think I should implement a reduced food waste activity that allows students to eat well and be grateful for their school lunch.
The school has set up a special Food Hero incentive scheme to promote food awareness. Students grouped with little or no food waste will compete to be Food Hero of the Week. The activity greatly promoted food awareness and reduced food waste among students in Taiwan.
And these are 15 quick tips for reducing food waste. Be a food hero, we all have a part to play in saving food.
I know when I was younger, I actually did find out a lot about food waste, but I think as of today, a lot of Canadians really need to be more conscious of the amount of food that we consume and the amount that we throw out.
Absolutely, I agree. I think food waste is a huge issue worldwide. Our next story comes from our partners at Hong Kong Baptist University. Here's Gigi Chong to tell us more.
Hong Kong throws away, on average, 3,600 tons of food a day, according to government figures, and most of this ends up in a landfill. But some local groups are trying to reduce food waste by collecting and redistributing unsold food items.
James Mallon and his team from Green Hour visit bakeries around Hong Kong to collect any unsold bread and pastries. They started the organization 5 years ago to promote a sustainable lifestyle.
So the Bun Run is an event that we've been doing now for about 2 years. It started when we were approached by a large bakery chain, Maxim's, and they asked us if we wanted to partner with them to do some sort of like surplus food collection. That wasn't something that we ever thought that we would get into. We mostly focused on beach cleanups and stuff. But given that food waste is such a big problem, we kind of thought, well, we may as well get involved in this and see what we can do. The way we run it is essentially we go to the bakery. We call the bakery first. We confirm that they've got some bread available. If they do, then we go there and we collect the bread, and then we directly distribute it to people in need, whether it's the homeless or street cleaners, the elderly, ethnic minority groups.
Actually, the first time I joined is because my friend is a secondary school teacher. She wants to bring some environmental friendly activities to the school. So she found these activities in IG, and then she asked me to join with her.
Most people in Hong Kong serve their breakfast at bakery like this. Every day, the unsold bread and pastries like these will be blown away and end up in the landfill. To minimize the food waste, the volunteers in food recycling organization come here to collect the leftover bread and we distribute them to the people in need.
Foodco is one such food rescue organization. They use their websites to match food delivery with demand for help.
原來咧，其實香港咧講緊有300幾間嘅食物援助服務點，大家都做緊食物援助服務。咁變相就係啲資源咧，其實我淨係識嗰啲嘅食物援助點啦，或者我淨係捐去嗰啲區咧。變咗其實好多唔同嘅地區嘅食物援助點咧都冇食物嘅，咁所以我哋見到呢個情況之後咧，咁我哋就諗會唔會可以利用一啲科技咧去解決呢個現象咧咁樣。好多社福機構咧，佢哋都尤其是疫情最嚴峻嘅時候咧，講緊係提供有限度嘅服務嘅。咁所以咧，佢哋其實如果要按翻傳統嘅方式去派食物又好，或者就係叫啲會員嚟申請食物又好咧，咁其實咧佢可能1個鐘就 serve 2-3位嘅啫。
Amid COVID, Foodco set up an email voucher system where families in need can get food for free. So Foodco started an app to match donated food vouchers with those in need. So far, Foodco has distributed more than 800,000 vouchers this way. Gigi Chong, TYR News.
We have heard about an innovative programs for reducing food waste in Taiwan and Hong Kong. Those stories we just saw shows us how environmentalists and governments are approaching the problem of food waste.
I'm interested to hear more about how people like us are reducing waste at home.
Yeah, like for me, I think food waste starts really at the beginning. I make sure that, I'm only buying things that I need. And then if there's anything that I feel like I might not be able to finish, I make sure to freeze it in time.
Yeah, that's a great way to start. I think I should definitely be doing that more often.
I only buy foods that I know I will eat before they go bad. You are watching Food for Thought, 7 shows produced by students from 10 countries around the world. You can watch our shows on our website and other social media.
We've been talking a lot about food waste. One way to reduce that waste and cut costs is to actually grow your own food.
My Ryerson classmate Denise Hajusufolo is from Turkey. Her mother, Saadet Kukrer, is an agricultural engineer in Bodrum. Denise talked to her about turning her regular garden into a vegetable plot to grow her own produce.
Burada ekstra bir enerji yarattığı için ve tabii ki sağlıklı, dinamik bir bünye kattığı için kendi elimle yetiştirdiğim, kendi zirai ilacını kullanmadığım ürünü tüketmiş oluyorum sabah, öğlen ve akşam. Oldukça yaygın hale gelmiştir diye düşünüyorum, özellikle Kanada gibi duyarlı bir ülkede.
I grow fruits and vegetables with my grandmother, such as tomatoes, mangoes, and chili.
That's really nice, and I think growing your own fresh fruits and vegetables at home is so much nicer, and it's so much more cost efficient as well. I live on a farm, so a lot of my produce is homegrown, and I find it to be so much better.
It's actually funny that you say that, Faria, because for part-time in the summer I go to Italy, and we have an orchard, and we all grow our own fruits and vegetables and olive trees, so I definitely relate to that. Yeah. And I think it's really valuable to grow your own produce. Yeah. You might think it's hard to grow food in Canada, where we have cold temperatures every year, every fall and winter especially, but it's not cold all the time. There are plenty of community gardens and other innovative programs that thrive in Toronto in the spring and summer months. Dr. Sarah Elton thinks we could do better.
Toronto could do better. So the city offers allotment gardens. Those are that city land where people get a plot or can rent a plot to grow food. There are community gardens also on land belonging to Toronto Community Housing Corporation. There are gardens there too. However, and a few other different kinds of gardens, including school gardens, some gardens on private land that people use to grow food for themselves and for their communities. Compared to other cities, Toronto could do better. When I was doing research as a journalist, I traveled to many different cities and saw lots of different examples of people at the grassroots figuring out, how do we grow food on a roof? How do we grow food tucked away down in this little corner, in this little patch of land? Or an amazing example from Montreal, where there's a private company that has built greenhouses on the top of some buildings, and so they produce quite a large amount of produce there.
We're going to change the topic a bit for the final story in our show. You probably heard that the world's population of bees is under threat. Bees affect literally everything in the food chain.
Their job is to spread pollen from flower to flower in a process known as pollination, which is necessary for plants to reproduce and keep the flowers and fruits coming each day. Pollination by honeybees accounts for over 80% of all pollination globally. Every day, a single bee colony may pollinate 300 million flowers.
Without pollinators, flowers will not have the ability to reproduce, costing us a huge depletion in our food system. Ryerson University student Shay Hayes interviewed upcoming beekeepers Ian and Zoe Voss about why bees are important to our society and how they notice their neighborhood gardens flourish.
People might not believe it's true, but oh my gosh, like our neighbors here, my mother especially, like her garden hasn't been this good in her entire life until we got bees, right? And we've watched documentaries where people literally, like an almond farmer, bought bees and would transport them from farm to farm just to pollinate the trees to be able to get a better crop for the year from almonds. But like my neighbors and everything, they love doing their gardens and stuff now because they get so much more of a yield from their crops. They also get, you know, like just even flowers and stuff like that bloom so much more better. It definitely, like, I can see it 100% that it makes a big difference in the world, right, with having them.
It's easy to get depressed when you hear about the amount of food waste and plastic waste in all of our countries. But seeing these stories about how hard people are working to reduce the waste makes me hopeful.
We feel hopeful about food waste being reduced. As you saw in our video, Taiwan food and agriculture education is now part of curriculum for 6th graders.
I'm from Malaysia. I know there's something called the happy food. Encouraging people to eat food or take away the unhealthy food.
That's really interesting, Carson. I mean, even when I was in 5th grade, I did a project on plastic waste in the ocean, and I find it really interesting to see the evolution of waste and how it is such a current topic even today.
You've been watching Food for Thought, a show produced by students from 10 universities around the world. We've produced 7 shows, and you can watch them all on our website as well as on YouTube and Facebook.
Carson and Haley, it was great meeting you. Thanks for watching, everyone. Goodbye.
Goodbye.